Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Jinx supplementary guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at on-hit Jinx. So I say on-hit, but it's really only partially on-hit, because as you guys can see here, we have the on-hit trio with Terminus, Runans, and Bork, and then you go into more heavy AD items, because going full on-hit is generally not really the best idea. So let's get straight into it. We're gonna go for the Gluttonous Greaves first for the early AD and the Omnivamp, and then you're gonna go into Terminus, of course, for the on-hit magic damage. You get the stacking resistances, you get the armor penetration. Of course, you also get the AD and attack speed. Runans, of course, you get more attack speed, and you can attack multiple people at the same time. With Jinx, the rockets also proc onto all the Runans bolts, so a lot of AoE damage in general. Right, then you have Bork, of course, doing current health on hit damage, more AD as well as attack speed as well as giving you physical vamp. And then, of course, your last two items, kind of flexible, but I like to go for Bloodthirster here because it gives you a lot of AD as well as, of course, giving you more physical vamp. And the last item you want to go for something defensive. So against heavy magic damage, Maw is going to be a good option. Otherwise, you have your usual options like GA or even Twin Guard, Sterex, things like that, right? Rune's going to be pretty standard, the ADC, standard ADC loadout as I like to call it nowadays. And then for the spells, you're going to go for Flash and Cleanse if there's CC. Otherwise, Ghost is going to be a very amazing option. Other than that, now let's just take a look at the gameplay itself. Okay, so now let's take a look at the gameplay section of the video. So, you might have also noticed that we've gone from daily uploads for quite a while to instead now in the past couple of days or almost the past week at this point going to one upload every 2 days. And of course this is pretty normal towards the start of the new patch. Of course we've already seen the patch preview, and of course we do know that the patch is coming. I believe it's on the 17th of July if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's the 17th of July, and as a result, of course, the builds that I kind of go through are going to be a little... I'm not going to say they're less relevant, but they may or may not be relevant in the future patch, right? So we generally tend to tone down the content towards the end of the patch cycle, which is only really logical. And here we're against a Varus and Soraka, and we are, of course, with a Yuumi. Now, Jinx, of course, does very well with Enchantress support, particularly Yuumi, Lulu, and Milio all works very well with Jinx, but of course other than that she can kind of play with any support. She's not a general very support reliant champion. Of course you do have the supports who can kind of build you up and make you to be a lot stronger than what you normally are, but if you play with any other random support, like even playing with a mage support, you are still, Jinx, you are still going to be able to do your damage when you get to like 2-3 items into the game, right? Jinx is a very typical 3 item kind of ADC, right? As Varus here oversteps his welcome and basically just gets run down by us, right? So Jinx in general is not a champion you can get kills with in lane. However, when the enemy team misplays like any other ADC, of course you can capitalize on it and just run them down, right? So there, Varus was just trying to be way too aggressive than what he should have been, and he's all the way up to our tower, so we're not gonna let him get away with it. We're just gonna run him down, right? So here, this is a random solo queue Yuumi, by the way, so hopefully we can work well together and we can win, snowball and win the game, right? So getting an early game kill is pretty huge, right? But the really important thing to kind of note of like getting early game kills is really the fact that on ADCs who need to scale, right? So ADCs like Jinx or Zeri, for example, getting early game kills is really good for getting you to your item power specs faster, but it really doesn't mean you're strong in lane, right? So a very common misconception is, for example, you get like 2-3 kills on, like, for example, Jinx, right? You think you're really strong, which you are gonna be, a lot stronger than you would have been if you're at 0 kills, but against a champion who is actually strong in the early game, for example Varus here. So Jinx versus Varus, and Varus is expected to win the early game. Why? Because obviously Varus has really good damage on his kit, really. It's like his W and everything, like, and his ult. If you get caught, you're gonna die to him most likely. And just because you've gotten a kill, it doesn't really change that. Now, I would say the situation does change if you have like 5 kills, but if you have like 1 or 2 kills and you're like Jinx versus Varus, highly likely is that Varus is still going to win a outright 1v1 just because of the way his kit works and just because of his power spikes, right? Jinx really only spikes at 3 items, whereas Varus is kind of like strong even at 0 items, and like every item he gets is a spike, right? So the curves out differently. You will eventually outscale Varus when you get to like the later items, but as of now, he's generally still going to be doing very well against you, right? So furthermore, let's talk about on-hit Jinx, right? So why would you ever build on-hit Jinx? Well, basically, Jinx, in a lot of the fights, right, she has to kind of deal with the front line first, right? Because she's not like Kai'Sa, she can dive the back line, so she has to kill the front line before she can proceed to attack the carries, right? And so one of the problems is when you build like full crit, for example, sometimes you have a hard time, you know, tearing through the front line, right? And you never get the reset, you never get to go to the back line. That's where on-hit Jinx kind of came into play, right? So going for your triple on-hit item, of course, Runance is an item you go for whether you go for crit or on-hit anyway. So really going for Terminus and Bork, those are really two items that are meant to be able to shred through tanks and deal with the tanks, and then getting the kill onto the tank will get you the reset, and getting the reset will then allow you to, of course, go for the rest of the team, as here you can see that Pantheon goes in for a very aggressive play. However, the safety tools are still there. Varus has his cleanse, flash, and ult. Soraka also ulted and healed, so they literally use all their safety tools. So if Pantheon ever decides to gank again, it should be a guaranteed kill, or if the two of them misstep at all, this should be a pretty free kill from myself and Yuumi as well. Yuumi with the pride heart every single time we recall, by the way. But here you can see we are going for the anti-heal, which is going to be the Executioner's Calling. There I was trying to get a snipe onto the Syndra, but Syndra dies before we actually, before the rocket even reaches, although I don't think that was on target either way. So here we're also going to pick up the BF Sword. Of course, getting anti-heal is a huge delay to your first item and to any power spike really. However, I think there are some champions that is essential to build anti-heal against. And the only two champions I think that is the case is Yuumi and Soraka, right? Because Yuumi and Soraka healing is really just insane, right? If you don't build anti-heal, it's impossible to win against their healing, right? So that's, you really gotta go for the anti-heal. You gotta kind of bite the bullet and, go for that. Right? So here, Varus and Soraka are kind of a little bit scared, right? So here, we're making use of our range on the rocket to actually get a little bit of poke onto the Varus. Here, Vi is coming in for a gank, but really, we don't have a lot to be afraid of. We still have our flash and our cleanse, and in fact, it's us that is actually turning the fight around and dealing damage onto them. Now we're going back for the fruit. Our team is now coming in for backup. We're going to get the ult onto the Soraka and take care of her. Vi, unfortunately, is able to get out with her life, as is Varus. The Morgana and the Pantheon were very helpful there in terms of helping us to secure that kill. Now Varus is going to get stuck under tower here, and he's going to just be farming minions on the tower. In the meanwhile, we're going to help our team secure this dragon. That's going to give us a reset as well. However, I don't really think we're going to be doing anything very significant with that reset. It's not that we're going to kill Varus under tower as a Jinx. We did try to stop his recall though, but the minion wave came in just in time to block it, and Varus is able to get back to base. However, this leaves his tower unprotected, right? So we can see we already get a plate there. Soraka tries to put down the silence. There's really nothing Soraka can do to stop us from getting plates. So we actually get 3 free plates here. However, we did lose a reset window. Here, once again, we try to launch the rocket downtown to see if we can help out. It kind of literally goes in between everybody, and we aren't really able to get anything. However, as I mentioned here, we kind of lose a reset window. The only good news is Varus did not get his Essence Reaver yet, so he's really not at that Essence Reaver spike. But we really do want to look for a reset because we really need to spend the gold we got from the tower plates as well as the kill, which we have not yet been able to do so. And you can see that with that, we can complete our entire terminus, and now we're on 1 item. The bad news is that Varus is also on 1 item. So we are kind of even in that sense. We are of course 1k gold ahead of him, but most of that lead is actually gone to building the Executioner's Calling, which of course in this matchup is really crucial. So that's not nothing. However, as I said, we don't really have as huge of a lead against Varus as it appears, because obviously Jinx is not a very strong champion in the early levels, whereas Varus is. Now here Pantheon coming in for a gank again. However, the enemy team kind of spots him out and he's not able to get into a position where he can stun. And yeah, he's able to kind of escape. Now here we actually place on the ward, but Vi happens to be in the bush that we put the ward in. Doesn't engage on us immediately. Now I think there is a world there where Vi just ults us instantly, and then we're stuck in a 3v2 in a pretty dangerous area. Although we do have cleanse and flash. Yuumi also has both summoner spells. Now here we pop the traps down to kind of zone Varus out of the way, and Vi as well. And here we basically trade ward for ward. Vi is still in the area, maybe looking to dive, but with his team backing off and recalling, it's not very likely. So Vi Looks like she walked into our jungle, maybe looking for counter jungle opportunities, but we now have a ward in the river as well as the tri-bush, so we're pretty safe in a sense that Vi is going to get spotted as she is now. We're spam pinging her her location, and here we're trying to force down the tower. So here if we get the tower, which we do, we can try to run the Varus down right now. Here Varus gets rooted, where we flash forward, going for the kill onto the Varus, which we get pretty easily. Now we're resetting onto the Soraka, but Vi is still going to be in the area, right? And here Soraka survives on 1 HP, which is pretty unlucky. We try to get the snipe, but unfortunately we don't actually hit her. And now with us too deep in the backline, we're going to get run down, and Yuumi comes as a free 1-for-1 lunge deal as a result, because obviously there's no one for her to attach to. She's way too deep behind enemy lines with me, and unfortunately that results in both of us dying. So yeah, definitely a little bit too aggressive of a play there. Actually, to be honest, it really wasn't, right? Like, the idea there was that we kill Soraka, we get the reset, and we use the reset to either go for the kill onto Vi, or we can try to escape with the movement speed, right? So either or, right? However, unfortunately, we weren't quite able to do that, and instead we just ended up not killing Soraka and then dying instead, which kind of makes it doubly worse, right? We not only didn't get the kill, but we also got killed. Here, Volibear very aggressive, diving the backline. Pantheon is ulting in. Garen is here as well. Yuumi, unfortunately, is not exactly here. So I am being a little bit cautious and aware that Yuumi is not on me. She is now. She tries to get the ult down. I'm trying to reposition the ult for her so that she can get hit more people with the root. Not very successful here. Garen's running in, frontlining for us, and I'm just blasting people from the backline. However, I'm using up a lot of my mana, so I don't really have the mana that I need. I try to ult for the kill, but Vi, who's the highest HP, I think at that point, tanks the ult, and both Syndra and Volley end up not dying. In fact, it's Pantheon who dies. Now we're getting ulted, and now we're stuck in a 1v or 2v4 with Yuumi, and we end up dying, and as a result, Yuumi now is in once again a free gift, and what started off as a pretty good play ends up with all of us dying, which ends up basically not looking too good, right? Varus, as a result, is also catching up. He's now only like 400 gold behind us, obviously, because while we're dead, he has been farming and like getting kills and assists, right? So he is now in a pretty good spot as well. He's building slowly towards his Triforce, and now the lead that we had is kind of dissipating as well, right? So that's no good whatsoever. Now at this point, you can see the goal difference between both teams is only about 1k or less than 1k. So there's a negligible goal difference between the teams. And if you look at every role, right, every lane, sorry, pretty much the goal difference is really not even like 1,000 or so, right? There's not really even 1,000 goal difference between any of the lanes, except I guess except jungle, I guess. My jungler is like 1k, more than 1k goal behind. But in general, there isn't really too big of a difference as we stop the recall onto the Syndra and just basically kind of threaten her a little bit. Now Vi is there to shadow her, so we're not going to go any further. Now we're really close to getting Runan, so we kind of just want to farm the wave and get Runans. Runans, of course, is a big spike for Jinx, so we get the 2 minions that we need. We're not even going to go for the rest of the wave because, yeah, we just need those 2 minions. Now we're going to get it, and we recalled for the Runans. And what you might be wondering, right? Like, we don't have Mole Reminder in our build, right? So what do we do with this Executioner's Calling? Well, the answer is, when you get to the final item, you have two options, right? Either you sell it and buy another item, which should be the case because by then most of your team should have gone anti-heal already, hopefully. Like, you see Garen and Morgana heal already have anti-heal. Or you can build it into like something like Kempang Chainsword, for example, which is not the best option. Here, root goes down from the Morgana. I get kind of chain CC'd. I have to cleanse out. And I tried to escape there, but I end up dying. So you can see that basically after I got 3 kills, now I basically got 3 deaths. So I'm not really doing the best in the world here. In fact, it's Morgana trying to prevent people from diving her that's getting her kills. Volibear still trying to go for the kills there, as is Soraka. Volibear gets rooted in place. The puddle goes down. Volibear is burning. Syndra is also burning. Morgana and Yuumi are basically 2v3ing the 3 of them. And all 3 of them have to kind of run away at pretty low HP to avoid dying to Morgana. Now, I've respawned. I spot a relatively huge wave and bot. And this is also Baron side, right? So it kind of makes sense for me to go to this side of the map. Volibear here is trying to push in the wave as well. Pantheon engages onto the Volibear. I'm going to ult Volibear to ensure at the minimum I get an assist. Penton trying to run him down. Penton is pretty low. I'm max range hitting Volibear with the rockets. I get the kill and the shutdown onto the Volibear, and at the same time kind of save the Penton's life. Pretty huge kill to get there. Now Yumi is on the way to kind of try to help the two of us out. Penton going to farm the red buff. Yumi gives him the healing, so he can just heal up a little bit. In the meanwhile, I'm just going to farm the Raptors. We really need to get to that 3-item power spike in a jiffy. The shutdown there came in real handy. We want to get to that Bork there. Especially you can see on their team, the two most fed members at the moment are actually Volibear and Varus, but after that, closely behind it's going to be Vi. Vi and Volibear are going to be a really tanky frontline with the Heartsteel on Volibear and with the Zeeks onto the Vi, as well as both of them having armor boots. Right, so here Vi gets caught out, chain CC'd by myself and Morgana completely, and just ends up going down. Right, here it looks like a really good fight for Jinx. Right, she's getting reset after reset one by one. They're running the Varus down. Volibear now comes in. Nice black shield for Morgana to prevent me from dying to Volibear. I get a huge ult between the uprights, and then I get a triple, and now we're just running the Volibear down, switching to the rockets. Can't believe that Morgana root didn't hit, by the way. We get a Quadra, and at this point, we kind of take over the game. So, thankfully, we started off the game real hot with 3 kills. Then, we got slowed to a halt with those 3 deaths, and now we're kind of back into it, getting a Quadra kill there. Huge injection of gold. This is going to give us enough to get our 3rd item for sure. But we're not going to waste this opportunity with the entire enemy team still currently dead. We're going to push onto their towers, right? So here we get tier 2 in mid. Garen gets tier 2 in top. And unfortunately, we can't really get inhibs unless they get distracted here. So we're trying to just blast down the mid lane inhib while they're distracted clearing top. We put down the traps as well. We get the inhib in the mid lane. And we're zooming away with the passive of Jinx here. And now we can finally get a reset and get our 3rd item, the Bork. So here we have the Bork, and then we also get the Zhonya's. Zhonya's, of course, is going to come in very handy in case we get locked down by Vi or Varus and we can't cleanse, and we don't have cleanse. Or if Syndra tries to one-shot us with her combo, we can use the stasis. So here, my team enemy team's chasing onto Garen. Now here, Penton's going in. It's a full 5-man of the enemy team in the mid lane. I just need the reset onto Soraka. We get the reset on Soraka. Vi ults us, but no one else is focusing me, so I'm still full health. And now it's Jinx's time to shine, right? And when you get that reset like that, you're gonna just run people down. So here, Syndra is the last one standing. I believe off of this, we should be able to end the game. I don't even believe we need the Baron here. Syndra is the only one left to defend, and she's not gonna be able to do it. Or is she? She one-shots the Morgana there, and Penton is reviving. However, yeah, she's not gonna survive. We get the kill onto her, I believe, and we are able to end the game right after that. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.